Hey guys, what's up? It's Katy and I'm back with another Marvel Contest of Champions video, and today we've got a bit of a doozy. So I was working on a video about arena death matches and it got me thinking. And then I saw Katy and Seatin released some videos on their concerns for the game. And while I'm not at their level, I want to put my thoughts out there about the progression of the game from someone who still has quite a bit of endgame content to do. So I'm going to point out some problems and offer my solutions to these problems, even if the solution may not be viable. If you've seen my rant videos before, you know I always offer my opinion on how I think it could be resolved. Now, looking on to the horizon of what's coming, it's making me curious as to whether or not I should finish what I have left to do or not. So first and foremost, I want to discuss the restrictions to Act 6 and 7, specifically the 4-star restriction. So as you know, you can't bring 4 stars into Act 6 and 7, regardless of if you're using them for a synergy. And to be honest, I don't agree with this. If you need a champ for a synergy, you should be able to bring any star level of that champ for the synergy. Now, Kabam could easily fix this by adding a synergy slot to the team. Now, in doing this, you can only use that champ for a synergy. You can't use it to complete the content. So if Kabam still wants to keep the 5 and 6 star gates, for Act 6, 7, and potentially beyond, this would solve that problem. And I think it would make a lot of summoners happy. It wouldn't really be wasting a slot, but you wouldn't be able to use that champ except for a synergy member. 4-star champions are becoming obsolete because you can't use them in endgame content due to restrictions, and you can't use them in the 5-star featured arena due to a large extent death matches. But that's a video for another time. All right, so now let's get into more of the nitty-gritty of Act 6 and Act 7. So let's first talk about the class gates in Act 6. While the keys that you had to obtain in Act 5 could kind of be a pain, they did not even compare to the BS that was the class and stargates that were in Act 6.2. And the reason for this is simple. If you don't have the champs of that class or that star level, you could not complete that path. Now look, I'm okay with maybe needing, one of a specific class member or one of a specific star level, but 4 of a specific class or star level? Get out of here. All right, and I kind of thought that the class gates in Variant 1, Kabam learned their lesson, but apparently I was mistaken. Now, there's really no way to get around this because this content is already out, but it leads me to my next point, which is specific champions for content, because they went from class and stargates to specific champions to clear a path. All right. So the Act 7 beta is out, and to be honest, it's a bit of a soul crusher. I was hoping to be able to use more of my roster, but unfortunately, that isn't the case. The majority of the paths have, a couple of counters, and many of the bosses have 1 or 2 counters to them, if any, as of now. So this forces people to spend money to open crystals for the champ, or to spend 3 days of their life in arena grinding for the champion, with the potential to miss out on Aegon. So, and this is a problem. Now, Cam made a really good point in stating that if nodes are made more generalized, fights are made more forgiving and allows for a more expanded roster to be used. And I 100% agree with this. In doing this, people won't feel so, disheartened when it comes to this kind of content. Think of it this way, right? When Abyss dropped, I kept getting asked when I was going to go in it, and my response was not until I got Aegon, because I didn't want to spend thousands more units to complete it without Aegon. The same thing applies to Act 7. There are going to be specific champs that you need in order to complete it without spending thousands more units for revives and pots. Now, I watched both Seatin and KT's videos, and both do all the content as soon as possible because they have the rosters, they have the skill, and quite frankly, they're both just more dedicated to doing it. Me, on the other hand, I like to take the content slow, scope it out, watch what other people do, and, you know, potentially wait for certain champs for a better counter, like Aegon, and then go through it. Call it the scientist in me. Now, Seatin made the point that Kabam is releasing a lot of endgame content, and for me, it's a little bit stressful because I haven't finished what I need to finish, and then I feel like I'm playing catch up. Now, one of the things both brought up is that all of the useless champs we have and how Kabam is making, you know, new champs for very specific nodes and very specific paths. Now, KT put out a video about Red Guardian being pretty much the only counter to the 7.1.2 Sabretooth boss, and frankly, he's right. I'll put a link to KT's video in the description. You definitely should watch it if you haven't already, but the short version is this. He has a node where you have to parry him in order to transfer charges onto him to do damage, but he has Aspect of War, which causes him to go unstoppable after specials and unblockable after 50 seconds, therefore not allowing you to parry him. But, Red Guardian has all of the abilities to counter these nodes. So when Kabam does something like this, they need to give an older champ some of those abilities, maybe not to be as effective, but something to make older champs still viable. Think of it like this. OG Cap could easily share some of those abilities Red Guardian has because essentially Red Guardian is the Soviet version of Captain America. Or going back to the synergy slot I was talking about, Kabam could make it so you give like a certain hashtag or a certain class the abilities to beat that node. But the best thing to do, honestly, is not design a node with, you know, one or no counters in the game yet, because that's a pretty shitty move. So this leads me then to my next point. Kabam wants you to use more of your roster, right? They want to steer you away from using Ghost, Corvus, Quake, etc. But I feel like they've gone too far. There are simpler nodes that you could put on, such as, you know, Armor Break and Safeguard for Ghost, or, you know, True Strike for Quake. That makes it more restrictive, but not so much that you have to bench 90% of your roster or rank up that one obscure champ that you're never going to use again. Now, I really don't envy Kabam for trying to balance 170 champs against countless nodes and countless interactions. I know that can't be easy. So there are, about 170 champs in this game, and narrowing down certain fights to one or two is a bad move. I've said in the past that Kabam needs a better system to target champs because waiting to pull them out of a crystal is honestly not feasible. And don't even get me started on the crap that they load into the featured crystals or the drop rates from the cab crystals. I have spent probably $1,500 to $2,000 on cab crystals over the past 3 months and have pulled zero. Count them, 0 6 stars. Big fat 0. Now, I have gotten some good 5 stars though, so there is that. But at a time when you're starting to focus on 6 stars, you know, it's kind of like, what's the point? There are very few avenues to get them, it seems. One of the things that Seatin and KT brought up are the rewards and rank up materials that are available. Now, people ask me all the time why I have well over 1 million PHC shards, and my answer is always that why do I even bother to open them? They honestly are useless. The time that it takes to open up all of them and sit through, you know, server lag, it's not worth it in my opinion. And what am I gonna get for them? It just piles up ISO in my inventory that I am gonna have to pretty much sell because I don't have any champs worth ranking up to use it on. Kabam really needs to ask themselves, why are they giving Cavalier players and endgame alliances PHC shards in 2020 and not the resources they need to take the BS content that they are putting out there? So this then leads me to my next point, which is obtaining said rank up materials. All right, so essentially you have 4 acts in this game, right? You've got Act 4, Act 5, Act 6, and soon Act 7. Now, to complete Master Level in the monthly event quest gives you materials to rank up your champs, you know, for Act 4 and some of Act 5. By completing Uncollected, you receive materials to help you explore Act 5, rank up your champs, and begin to tackle Act 6. Now the variants give you gems to, you know, rank up your champs for the start of Act 6, you know, both older champs for, you know, 3 to 4 gems and newer champs for, you know, you get the 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 gems, which does have the potential, again, to help you get through the beginning of Act 6 and up through parts of 6.2. Now, Act 7 is still in the beta, but it seems, at least to me, that it's going to be one hell of a struggle if you're using anything less than a 565 or a rank 2 6-star champion. And even then, it's gonna be tough. So this is where the problem lies. There isn't a lot of content out there to help you get those resources, right? Seatin brought up the fact that he doesn't even need the resources from Master Tier War. From Master Tier War, running Map 7 Alliance Quest isn't giving him the resources to rank 3 a champ, and he is at the point in the game where 5 stars honestly don't mean that much to him. And then you have players like me, who are trying to catch up on 5 stars, you know, to complete content that is geared towards rank 3 6 stars. Very specific ones, mind you. Now, if story quests are the end-all be-all, then there needs to be an alternate progression chain that gives you the resources for completion of the story quests. They need to release another tier of variant and a Cavalier difficulty to obtain the resources to start tackling the hard story quests that are being released. Now, Kabam is dropping this content and using the whole "it's permanent content" deal, and while that's fine and dandy, it doesn't work. Remember when Act 5 was dropped? A lot of us completed it with 4 stars, including myself. 5 stars were just starting to be introduced into the game, and you could still bring your 3 stars in there, even if it was just for a synergy. But again, as stated earlier, that's not the case with Act 6 or 7. So I feel like another level of monthly event quest shouldn't be really any more difficult than 6.1, but it should give you the resources to rank up the variety of champs you need to complete 6.4 and Act 7 when it's released. Okay, so back to Seatin Kt. Both brought up the fact that the game is not focusing on player enjoyment anymore. Kabam really had a great opportunity with a fresh start for Act 7 with, you know, more fights and encounters like the Grandmaster. Most people really enjoyed the mechanics of that fight, myself included, because you could do it with any champ you have. I wish there was more innovation with Act 7 and take, you know, and that they would take all of our feedback to heart from the horrible frustrations that was Act 6. Think about it. When the first variant was released, a lot of people didn't enjoy it due to the class restrictions. But since then, every variant thereafter has been fun, unique, and allowed for a variety of champions to be used. I mean, I was using old school champs for some of these fights. Act 7 was a perfect opportunity to go in that direction, just on a larger scale, of course. Think of it like this. If this is what 7.1 looks like, what is 7.2 going to be? Will you even want to complete it? They took all of the worst parts of Act 6, injected them with steroids, and put it in Act 7. And I've seen a lot of feedback on the Act 7 beta, and to be honest, most of it isn't good. Now, I hope Kabam really takes what the player base is saying to heart and changes it before it goes live. Otherwise, I feel a lot of players will be burnt out, pick up another game, and move on. This entire game is about chasing the carrot on the stick. But Kabam needs to make that chase enjoyable. And with the way Act 7 is looking, it isn't. Now, Act 7 is in the beta, so hopefully adjustments will be made to make it more enjoyable, but don't expect a complete overhaul. When Seatin released that video about stepping back, you know, it was kind of heartbreaking for me because in my mind, I always felt like him and BG were the 2 YouTubers who were just, you know, going to be going down with the Mcoc ship, right? Even BG has taken a step back, but as far as I know, that isn't related to burnout. So now I understand where they're coming from, believe me, because I've actually stepped back. I've stepped back from Map 7 and Platinum Tier Wars. And then just when I think I want to head back to Platinum Tier Wars, Kabam hits me in the face with flow tactics, and I'm just like, nope, hard pass. So things like this make me look for other games to play, which is honestly why you see me playing Apex. I just need a break from that MCOC grind, from the content, from all of that. To sum up this long-ass mini rant, here are a few things that I think Kabam could do. As I stated earlier, I think that they could add a synergy slot so that you could bring your 4 stars, your 3 stars, your 2 star, whatever star for a synergy into Act 7. And then they also need to look at the rewards and refresh them, especially when it comes to things that have been in the game forever. But I feel like that calls for another video. And they also need to be more cognizant of these fights and who can be used. And they need to develop, more interesting fights like the Grandmaster. If they could take the team that developed the variants, not variant 1, but the team that developed the variants and the Grandmaster fight, put them together and develop, 7.2, I think it would be awesome. Now, we know Kabam is capable of creating content that is fun and interesting and not a burden. We've seen them do it, right? It's just they're failing with this end game story quest and also war. But that's another video in itself. But anyways, guys, that's all that I got for this little mini rant here. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the Act 7 beta? What do you think of the champion-specific counters to the fights? Do you think Kabam could make some adjustments? How would you change how Act 7 is right now in the beta? Let me know in the comments below and let's discuss. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you guys liked what you saw and you want to see more, please remember to like and subscribe, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and hit me up in the Discord chat. Thanks, guys. Bye.